Snowman.
As was said very eloquently in a movie, let's rock this joint. If that ain't some headbanging music to get your Monday started, I don't know what is. What's up, everybody? It's the Plus. That's Drew. I'm the Snowman, and we got something serious that we're going to talk about. We'll do that in a few minutes. Now, why did you try convincing me of what you tried to convince me this morning in the chat? And you know what I'm talking about.
Well, first of all,
let's start this with a little fun.
First of all, shout out to the Fanatic Feedback Zone because that was lit this morning.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was. There. It was a great Monday show for Snowman and Cole. Shout out to you guys. So I was throwing a little bit of feedback back and forth with Snowman, a little bit of friendly Monday banter about one Thomas Edward Patrick Brady the second, Cole, not Junior, the second. Okay,
and you know what makes it so much fun? You kept throwing it the entire 2 hours, and we just sit there laughing at it. You know.
Now, let me clarify this, as I always do when Snowman tries to throw me out there with this. I am not a Tom Brady fan. I dislike Tom Brady, actually. However, when you see greatness, you got to acknowledge it. And Snowman always reverts back to his number one, and that is number 16, old Joe Montana. But famously in The Water Boy, it was Joe Montana. However, Rod does bring up a good point. He was forced out of San Francisco. Tom Brady walked out of New England. So where the greatest walked away and then got a Super Bowl in his first year with Tampa Bay, the other was forced out, even though he did get an AFC title game that one time. He didn't do anything else after that. Had to hang him up. But I then revert back to what Snowman has and what he's argued to. Football was different. It was played harder back then. And sports as we know it are way more pussified thanks to one Thomas Edward Patrick Brady II.
Speaking of the 49ers, how about that game Sunday night? How about that defense stepping up in the second half?
For you as a fan, I know it was great. For Chargers fans, it was not, as Justin Herbert was 21 of 35, not even at 200 yards, only had 196 passing yards. One touchdown, one interception, as that was the highlight of the Chargers offense there. Your 49ers and Jimmy G back with 240 passing yards. Didn't even have to have a touchdown to make a difference, as Christian McCaffrey had the lone rushing touchdown, along with Jimmy Garoppolo did have that one touchdown as well. But it just goes to show you that the ground and pound game, and Elijah Mitchell came back and looked great with 18 carries for 89 yards. They're utilizing Christian McCaffrey the right way. Mm-hmm. However, I am concerned with having 2.7 yards per average on only 38 yards total on 14 carries. That does concern me a little bit going forward.
Yeah, it does. But at the same time, you have to remember they're getting used to having all their weapons back.
True.
Because they just got eight players back from injury. One of which is Deebo Samuel. Another you mentioned Elijah Mitchell. It's going to take Ayuk. How about Ayuk? 684 yards.
Yeah, almost 100 yards, I was going to say. He deserved a touchdown with what he actually had last night. At least hand it off and let him run in or something because of what he did on the passing game for you. But definitely big for him there. But and I kind of got what you guys were saying on Snowman in the morning earlier, where it was good to have the two-punch attack with Mitchell and McCaffrey. It kind of spreads it out a little bit more, makes it a little bit more diverse. But 38 rushing yards does concern me, even though we're only at the midway point of the season. He needs to pick that total up as the game's going into the playoffs.
Well, like I said, it's going to take a bit for them to get used to having not just one jackknife in the backfield, but two of them. because we know what they can do with Deebo Samuel. Saw it in the playoffs last year. We also know the capability of Christian McCaffrey. And now that Christian McCaffrey is under Kyle Shanahan, you can't tell me he's not going to scheme to get him open and get him more than three yards a carry. Last night, playing San Diego's defense with McCaffrey was kind of an anomaly because they tried to force feed McCaffrey to the Chargers during the first half. And then they also tried to force feed Elijah Mitchell to, get his feet wet and get everybody back in it. But Mitchell picked it up, 18 carries, 89 yards. McCaffrey totaled the ball 14 times for only 38 yards, but he did have a rushing touchdown. He did pick up a lot of blitzes because San Diego brought the blitz a lot during the game last night. And McCaffrey was picking him up. Samuel was picking him up. Elijah Mitchell was picking up the blitzers, and they still don't have all their parts back yet. So
he did also have 39 yards receiving too. McCaffrey did,
and
it adds up.
Then there's this fellow called George the Animal Kittle, who made some key catches last night. You can't forget about Kittle in this offense. So it's a surplus of weapons, and it's up to Kyle to really find out how to manage them and get everybody the ball. Because when you look at this offense, if they are really clicking, that's a 450-yard a game offense easily. And they can give you half of that on the ground.
Just imagine if you could bring Pops out of retirement for one season and McCaffrey could lace him up with the sun and the type of receiver that he was back in the day, that physical type of receiver, like this physical type of slot receiver before a slot receiver was a slot receiver type of deal. I miss that, watching him play for the Broncos, because when I was a kid, I was really getting big into football in the mid-90s and watching those Broncos teams and win those back-to-back Super Bowls. McCaffrey was something special. I wasn't really paying attention to football when he won the one in San Francisco. I have seen the highlights, of course, since then. But being young and appreciating someone like Ed McCaffrey in those two back-to-back Super Bowls was great to watch.
Yeah, and seeing McCaffrey blossom in both those offenses, one with Steve Young and one with John Elway. And what's the common denominator? Mike Shanahan. Because Mike Shanahan was the offensive coordinator for the 49ers when they won Super Bowl 29, and then he was the head coach of the Broncos when they won Super Bowls 32 and 33. Common denominator was a Shanahan. And now you got Christian McCaffrey with Kyle Shanahan. And all I can think of for the rest of the NFL is, oh boy, if they get all this together, I tell you, that's a 400-yard offense easy.
You're a game over 500 now. You got your 5-4. You got a winning record now, and Jimmy G is looking hot now. Looking at this point of the year, it's the best time of year for him to start getting hot and to start carrying that momentum, because you still have a long second half of the season left.
Yeah,
you have a really good chance of making a really good run if everybody can stay healthy and keep building each week.
Exactly, and that was the biggest thing I took away from last night's game. Let's pause for a break, and when we come back, we'll talk a little more football. Then we got a serious subject to hit with
the World Series is underway. So is the NFL season, the NBA season, and yes, there's actually hockey with the NHL. Where can you support your team and your favorite player? By going to Fanatics. Go to snowmaninthemorning.com/Fanatics. That's snowmaninthemorning.com/Fanatics. Select your favorite jersey or your favorite gear from your favorite team or your favorite player, and you can support not only your favorite team or favorite player, but you can support this morning show as well. Go to snowmaninthemorning.com/Fanatics, and you can support anybody involved in sports with all the seasons going right now. It's Fanatics, where sports fans shop. And when you go there, tell them Snowman sent you. Thank you. Have you had a chance to visit the brand new Snowman in the Morning shop yet? You haven't? Then what are you waiting for? Go to our new web address, snowmaninthemorning.com/shop. That's snowmaninthemorning.com/shop, where you can shop for all kinds of items like a coffee mug, a t-shirt, a sweatshirt, a book bag, and everything else that you need to have the same outfits and the same gear that the crew has. And with each purchase, you will be helping the Snow Strong initiative. We got a lot to do in a short time to get there. Go to snowmaninthemorning.com/shop and get the same stuff that the crew has. And when you do that, tell them Snowman sent you. Thanks.
So I just got an alert that some work needs to be done here in the office, but we got a few minutes. So let's hit a positive spin on a subject that I've spoken about a lot, and you gave me that positive push in a message yesterday. It's called depression. And it really depends, and I'm finding this out day by day, moment by moment, especially since yesterday when you and I talked. It's how you deal with it. It's how you bounce back within it and from it. And I'm just going to come right out and ask you, on your most difficult days, how do you push through it?
Like you said, with the positive spin to start it off, thinking positive thoughts the best way possible. I mean, this world, especially the pandemic, with what we saw, that was one of our biggest tests to everyone as a
Yeah.
nation. People who didn't even know depression or even understand what it was got to experience parts of it, whether it be stuck at home, loss of income, and then having to file for different ways to get income. And then of course your story, Snowman, we know with the episodes and things that we have done together as far as like the other Snowman Unfilters and stuff that you have put out there. So, I mean, you definitely have shared your story, with me, and with time restraints too. I'll keep it short. It's just with my own personal struggle or whatnot, one of the biggest vices that I had for many years was I was a cigarette smoker, and the nicotine and stuff, and it builds and it builds and it builds, and you can have a short fuse, even more of a short fuse, if that's even not your personality. And with this year myself, overcoming that, I was at 2 packs a day, quit cold turkey in January. It was a struggle doing that. The first couple months was tough when you're used to doing certain activities, whether it's driving down the road and having a cigarette for after a meal, having a cigarette, whatever it is, it's tough. That's just one thing. There's so many more things that I can name. That was my most recent struggle of getting over. But in the past, I've made bad mistakes when I was younger, and I'm not even going to shy away with it. So many people will come onto your platform or go on other platforms and do the whole self-pity card, like it's not my fault, like everything happened to me and I'm just a victim. Well, I'm not going to sit here and do that. I'll tell you that I made my own share of mistakes when I was a teenager,
Right.
20s. I shared some of them on the show. Wise El Jefe and I have some common things in the past that we've discussed, that there's some similarities there where we understand each other as far as where we've come from. So when you put everything in perspective and you think about where you were at one point, I've been so low at one point, at some points in my younger days, to where I didn't even know if I was going to be able to wake up the next day. I didn't seriously like take a matter into my own hands and was like going to, end things or anything. But like, I think everybody at some point has negative thoughts, and they go through some like hardship to where they're thinking things to where, like, not necessarily ending things in your own hands, but kind of like a thought like, well, it wouldn't really matter if I didn't really wake up tomorrow or something. And that's a lot of things that I hear from talking with different people, meeting new people, understanding their backgrounds, because it's okay to get your own message across, but you have to understand what other people are going through to maybe
Right.
in turn help yourself heal at the same time, to understand that there's more than what's going outside of your world right here. There's a
Mhm.
lot more out there, and we've been seeing a lot of that in the social media age. Like, it's been for the good and for the bad, Snowman. Like,
Yeah.
it's that we've
It
seen
has.
the bad, we've seen some nasty, and like,
Mhm.
some people use it as their personal journal to document everything, including what they had for breakfast, snapshot, lunch, and dinner as well.
Mhm.
So when you put everything as a whole, there's good and bad in the world, and the bad definitely weighs down the good. I haven't met a single person, even people of privilege that were born into money or just came into money by working into it, never met anybody who has not experienced one little ounce of depression at some point. There is
Yeah.
at least something in this world that'll knock you down. And for whatever I could do to in that paragraph to help motivate you, man, like, there's been people out there for me in the past too. I've had to have those motivational speeches, ass whoopings, sorry, but like that, like physical
Oh,
ass
say it
whoopings when
real.
I was younger,
Say it real, man. Say
verbal
it.
ass whoopings too, because
Yep.
it's like I told you yesterday in that context. It's one thing to help someone along and to help build them up, but it's another to bully them down and beat them down at the same time.
Mhm.
And you got to be able to differentiate what's what. It's kind of tough, and it's a challenge when you do it in text, because
Yes.
text can be taken out of context. And that's
Mhm.
why there's certain things I'll label in there like, I'm not trying to upset anybody or anything when I
Yeah.
say it or whatnot, because I'm just coming from a good place. And people like yourself take that, run with it, and it helps build them up. Because if you let the pressures of the outside weigh you down, but if at the same time, if you work yourself into the ground without appreciating the growth or appreciating the ones around you, like taking a second or two and just be like, thank you for what you do or whatever, in what way, shape, or form, whatever you do. I try to do that within my technology. When I have Snowman on my show, I make a badass intro for him. When I have somebody else on there, I make a badass intro for him and graphics and everything. And it's not even really that hard for me to do. It's just as we get older, it's tough to make time for it. That's why personally, I live by Google Calendar, and Google Calendar has actually helped get me out of depression a little bit, because if you're not organized, my man, there you go. If you don't keep things on track and compartmentalize things, it's easy to slip. And there, depression can be overcome, but it takes you, the person, that has to be willing to overcome it. If you want to give up and let the world win, they win, you lose. At the end of the day, I'm winning, man. I'm going to keep on trucking. I'm going to show up on Snowman's show with the fire.
We all going to keep on trucking.
My man's going to see that, and he's going to keep on trucking. Cole's going to keep on trucking. And that episode this morning was legitimate fire. And that's why we're keeping it going right now in the Plus.
Appreciate it. Really, really appreciate it. The strangest thing for me that gets me going, I go back to, and like you said, getting organized has been my biggest flaw, my biggest fatal flaw. Today that changed, because as soon as I signed out, I went down for a nap immediately. And it's normally not the time I do, because I usually spend some time, doing some editing. But today, my body just felt it. And we're like, okay, we're going to set an alarm, and we're going to get up. Then we're going to have something to eat. And then we're going to knock this episode out. Boy, has that come in handy.
Trap naps.
Even that little schedule right there.
Trap naps.
Even that little schedule right there. A couple of hours down, having some music on. And now, even though I'm gonna have to sign off here in a minute, now I know what I'm gonna do this afternoon, because I got coaches emailing me, I got other broadcasters emailing me, such as Bill Schoening from the Spurs, and Google Calendar is gonna save my ass. I can tell you that right now, because the one person who introduced me to Google Calendar, I married her.
There you go. They always know best. But another thing, don't forget, Snowman, it should be on your calendar for this evening too. Both of us are going to be on with Mr. McCoffey with Waz El Jefe tonight on the Stuck in My Mind podcast.
5 o'clock.
So 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern for those of you who are watching right now. I got to piggyback off of what Cole said earlier, and shout out to Cole for the shout out earlier on the Snowman in the Morning show.
Yes.
But yes, tonight at 5 o'clock, Waz El Jefe with another episode. He's pushing to 200 episodes. If you recognize that, he's not that far off from 200 episodes. So another shout out to Waz for going that far.
Well, he always shouts us out for having him make the decision to go live with the Stuck in My Mind. And something, having him on the show Thursdays and Fridays just takes it to that next level. Having you here takes this to that next level. And I would be remiss if I didn't say I love you very much. Thank you for the context. And today I'm going to be typing my tail off into my Google Calendar to make sure my wife knows my schedule, and I stay alert to my schedule. My alerts are going to be set day by day. I'm going to try to get this week done. If I get the next couple of days done, when I get the next couple of days done, I'll be ahead of the game, because I have now one coach's show confirmed. The second one's going to be confirmed probably tomorrow. And then there's a checklist that I'm going to write out each day when I get done doing the morning show. And I'm going to tape it up here to my wall, and I'm going to stick with it.
I want to leave you with one thing before we go.
Yeah.
So think about everything that has transpired in a 24-hour span. The words, our show here, and what you just said, and those plans you got going on, my man. Think happy thoughts. Let's get this thing going. Let's go, keep having fun. Everybody in the chat, and the chat for this episode, I don't even know if you've seen this, has been a little bit lit up too. With Sick Diggy and Rod West. Rod, thank you. That was for you.
Thank you, Rod.
Snowman hates it, even though Snowman hates Thomas Central for Patrick Reed a second. That was for you. Sick Diggy, thank you for joining us. And we are expected to acknowledge Tom Brady like Roman Reigns. So that is for you. But what we need to acknowledge, most importantly from the second half of this episode, is that we are all people. And that's where I was going with this. We are all individuals. We can all break at some point. Snowman breaking down his schedule, getting rest and stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with taking a trap nap. That's why I was shouting it out. That's what I call them. Nothing wrong with getting your little nap in the middle of the day. Snowman has even more of an excuse. He is a grandfather. So when you think about all that in time, he is at the 50th age mark. And also shout out to Dave. 50 years ago was a special day. My older brother was born. So 50 years ago, 50-year birthday. Happy birthday to him. So there you go. Joining Snowman at age 50. So I had to give a shout out to him. Thank you, all of you, for out there for the support and for being there for this episode. Be there for the Snowman as he takes SDM Sports Pod Center to the next level.
And it's the next level. The next level is due. And for that, we're out of here. Thanks, folks. See you tomorrow. You can either let the world beat you or you can beat it. I'm going to choose to beat it. Drew and I will do that every day. We're out of here.